Well, hello there. This is Craig Hain, and this is a message to any Indiana University Finite Math M118 student. Now, the question I'm going to ask and answer in this message is, do you want to succeed in the Finite Math course, M118, to your fullest potential, but with a minimal effort that's required from you? Now, if the answer to that question for you is yes, then this message is for you, and it'll be worth probably whatever time it takes you to watch it. And you can download the PDF of this if you would like to and just read it as opposed to watching this video, although I'll add some more things in this video that are not on the PDF. So the first thing I want to tell you is about the reality of what it takes to succeed in this finite math course at IU. And you can learn all about me, by the way, going to my website, which is at the bottom of this page, and you can click to it. Well, first off, you need to realize that I don't believe there's any really easy way to succeed at finite math. It's a difficult course. It's a challenging course. Lots of students have trouble with it and find it very challenging. But I must say that there's some ways of approaching it that are easier than others, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Now, the second thing you have to understand is that you've got to learn to solve all the various finite math problems that you're going to be taught, and you have to learn to solve them quickly and accurately, very efficiently, because otherwise you're not going to do well on the exams. They're timed exams, and if you can't do the problems quickly and efficiently and accurately, you're not going to score very well, and you're not going to get a very good grade. You're also going to be great on your homework. That's a small percentage of your grade, but again, you want to be able to do it accurately and efficiently. So these are the two things you have to know. You have to work hard to succeed, and you've got to learn how to solve these problems. Now, the big question is, how do you do this? Well, the first thing that you're going to do, and I think this is pretty obvious, you have to understand the underlying concepts that you're going to be taught. Finite math has 8 chapters in it. There are 2 parts. There's probability models and linear models you're going to learn all about. And there's lots of concepts. Well, now, hopefully, you're going to have a great teacher, and he is going to explain them in a way that you can understand them. And that'll be great if it is. But if that's not the case, if you don't understand a concept, that's the first challenge. You've got to go learn it. And that means you're probably going to have to get some help. You may be able to learn it from the book, but you very likely often are going to need some additional help. Now, the second thing, of course, you've got to learn how to apply appropriate techniques to solve the various finite math problems you're going to be taught. Now, they come in groups, or types I call them, and once you learn how to solve a certain type of problem, you'll be able to solve other very similar types, but there's lots of different types. Now, once again, hopefully, your teacher is going to explain this to you in such a way that you'll understand it and you'll be able to easily do your homework, and then be prepared to do your tests. But the problem is, for many, many students, this just isn't enough. Now, it's not necessarily the teacher's fault. I will tell you, I've been teaching math for many decades now, and I've taught it at all levels. And teaching a subject like finite math in a large classroom with lots of students is extremely difficult, because students work at different paces, they have different backgrounds, and so on. So it's a real challenge for a teacher to do this. And many, many students find that they simply can't learn enough in the classes to be able to do the first 2 things they've got to do. Well, if you're in that category, let's say that you say, well, I'm having trouble understanding the concepts, or I'm certainly having trouble learning how to solve the problems efficiently, then your biggest challenge is probably going to be how to find some help outside the classroom. Now, this is going to involve your time and maybe some money in order to master the concepts and solve the problems. But I'll tell you this, how well you do 1 through 5 that we just talked about is going to determine your ultimate success. It's also going to determine how much time and money that you've got to spend to achieve the success that you are aspiring to. And of course, that depends very much on you. Now, if you can find a fellow student who can help you do this, someone that understands it better than you do, that's great. And in fact, if you can help other students, that could be good too, because I find that when you explain a concept or a problem, first you explain it to yourself so you feel you understand it. Then when you try to explain it to another student, that helps you understand it even better. I've often said I don't really learn something until I can explain it to someone else. Now, The facts are there's a very wide variety of free resources available to you, and you're going to learn all about them. They're going to tell you about a lot of them, and so you're going to have to evaluate them and see how effective they are in helping you. But here's something that I think that you, at least some of you, need to really do. You need to factor in how much of your time are you going to have to devote to any resource, whether it's free or whether you pay for it. Either way, how much of your time is it going to take? Because in my view, time is money. Now, if you don't agree with that, if you don't consider your time valuable, then probably a lot of the things I'm going to tell you here will be somewhat irrelevant. But everybody, I believe, at IU pretty much does. Now, we have a website that's called what is Finite Math Success, and it's go to finitemathhelp.com. There's the link to it. You can go to it, and I will show you that website very quickly. This is the Finite Math Success website. You go to finitemathhelp.com and you'll see it. And there's many things there that you'll learn about. You'll learn all about what Finite Math Help can do for you. And the whole idea is to make you successful. The only goal that we have is to help you get the very best possible grade with a minimal effort on your part. And here you'll see all the different things that you have to do. You have to learn the definitions of the concepts I mentioned. You have to learn how to apply them to solve problems. And you have to practice. Practice is the key to the thing. Practice is like a sport. You have to practice and practice. Now, there's a lot of things that they offer here at this, and you can look at it. Now, the prices will vary from time to time, and so I'm not going to talk about prices on this video. You'll have to go and see what it is at a particular point in time if you want to use some of this. They have a lot of tutorial videos there. There's over 250 of them because it takes a lot of tutoring, to learn all these things. And this website will tell you just what they are, what they cover, and they're very much based on the Finite Math book that you'll be using. And so you can go to the website and find about it. You can learn about us. We talk about just what we have to offer you there at this website. I give a lot of the tutoring. We do it online, but mostly it's tutorial videos. It's much more efficient for you, as you'll learn. And we have services there that you can get. These are the program materials we have. And included in that, if you go down here and click on the 4 PDF crib sheet, you'll see that we'll give when you buy our program, you get some crib sheets. This saved me a tremendous amount of time from trying to go back to the book and look up all the definitions when I wanted to review them and remember them. So these crib sheets are very, very useful to you. Now, let me get back to the notes that I had. Time saved is money saved. That's my philosophy. So you've got to ask yourself, what's your time worth and what's it going to take you, no matter what you do, whether you use our program or not. As I mentioned earlier now, you've got to solve these problems in a very accurate and efficient way. That's what you've really got to learn to do, because that's what you're going to be tested on. And so now the question is, how can you do that most efficiently? Now, maybe a very important question that you need to answer before you even get into this is, what kind of a grade do you need to achieve? What's your grade goal? For example, if you're trying to get into the Kelley School of Business, you've got to get a pretty high grade to qualify. That's true for some other programs as well. If you're just trying to pass just to get through to graduate, well, that's another story. This is really aimed at people that really need to get a high grade. If all you want to do is pass, you can probably get by fairly quickly and easily with a lot of free material. But if you want to get a B or a B plus or higher, then I think most people are going to benefit from some help. And so I mentioned earlier, now we've created these tutorial videos for you, and we've created crib sheets. And I point out that if you just look at your book, you'll see this, and your teacher no doubt told you if you don't have the book. The Finite Math book is divided into 2 parts: probability models, that's the first 4 chapters, and linear models, that's the second 4 chapters. And that's what you have to learn, and they build on each other. It's kind of like climbing a ladder. There's relationships between them. They're not always dependent, but a lot of times they are. And so what we have at Finite Math Success, as I mentioned earlier, is tutorial videos. Now, a tutorial video is really kind of like a session at a study table with a tutor. I treat it like I was sitting. I make these tutorial videos up. I've made them up, and I treat it like you're a student sitting at my kitchen table or at a study table, and I'm going through and I'm explaining it to you step by step. Now, here's a problem. If we're doing it in a live tutorial, then there's usually a time limit on it, and we have to hurry through it. And a lot of times you want to say, hey, stop, back up, tell me that again, explain it. Well, with a video, you can do that. You can rewind it, you can interrupt it, you can take a break, you can come back, you can rewatch it. You have total control over the video. That's the really, really big deal. That's what Sal Khan learned when he did Khan Academy. He found out that his students learn from his videos better than they learn from a live tutorial. And that's probably, I believe that's the case here. So what you're going to be getting is all these tutorial videos on every definition, every concept, and all types of problems. Another big thing about videos is you don't have to travel. You don't have to go to a tutor. You don't have to go somewhere. You can do it in your room, wherever you are. Now these will be these will be regular videos. You can do them on any kind of a computer. It's a big time saver not having to travel. After all, it takes time to travel. As I mentioned earlier, a tutorial video, I believe, is actually better than a live tutor. And I created them, as I mentioned earlier. And I believe that for some students, learning the concept from a tutorial video is better than any lecture or live session can be. Again, because you have control of it. And you can watch it as many times as you need. And you'll have to come back and review. You'll learn something today, and a couple weeks later you feel, oh, what was that? Well, you have to go back and look at it. Now, I will tell you this. These are not fancy videos. These were not designed to be entertaining. They're not designed to impress you. They're strictly like I would be sitting at what I call my kitchen table and giving you a tutorial session. I've done that for decades now, and I've trained thousands of students. And by the way, I've never had a student fail at math if they were willing to put in the work. But the important thing is you have to learn at your own pace. And so I'll often tell you in the video to pause the video and do something, and then come back and watch it and go on, and then watch it and rewatch it. You're only going to learn by actively doing things. You're never going to learn math just watching a video or a lecture and taking notes. That is totally inadequate. You have to do the problems. Math, I think, is like a sport, even a contact sport. And these videos explain how to solve these problems and have you practice and practice. And then you're going to have to work hard to do it. You're going to have to practice. And how hard depends on your aptitude. Now, what we do is we take the problems from the Finite Math book, and we take a sample of the problems, and it's explained on the website how we do that, so that if you learn to do the problems that I teach you, you'll be able to do any of the problems that are in the book. We actually do the odd-numbered problems in the review problem section of each chapter. We also do all the problems on the sample midterm exams, there's 2 of them, and the sample final exams. And then, of course, we have the concept videos. So all together, there's over 300 tutorial videos. So you can tell it's going to take a lot of work to do this. Now, how much work it's going to take is going to depend on your background and on your math aptitude, how quickly you can learn and remember, and so on. And that varies a lot from person to person. But I will tell you, everybody can learn this. I believe any IU student can learn it if they'll put in the effort. I point out that the problems come in different types. And when you learn how to do a certain type of problem, then there'll be many, many other of that same type. And once you learn how to do one, you'll be able to do it. Now, something you need to be aware of is the first time you learn to do a particular type of problem, it might take you quite a while to understand how to do it. Maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But then when you go do a similar type problem, the second time it might only be 15 minutes. You understand it better. It's a little easier this time. And after you've done the same type of problem several times, you'll get it down to where you can do it very quickly in just a few minutes. And that's the key to succeeding and getting a good grade, because these exams are timed. And if you can't do a problem quickly and efficiently, you're not going to do well. I point out here, I make the statement, learning is what I call exponential in nature. And what that means is, if you're learning some body of material, chances are, and you take a certain amount of time to learn it, 80% of what you learned in the last 20% of the time. That's what it means to be exponential. In other words, the first time you learn something, it may take you quite a while to understand it. But then when you review it, it goes faster. Review it again, it goes faster. You do this over time. I use the analogy of a sport. First, you got to learn the right principles of the rules of the sport, and then you got to learn the right techniques to do whatever it is in the sport to solve the problem. And you have to practice. Practice is the key. Now, this is why it's important, I believe, to have multiple study sessions throughout the week, and short study sessions, because the more you practice, the better you're going to get. You're going to have to review. You're going to have to practice. There's no short road to glory for anybody. We all have to do this. I have a PhD in math. This is how I learned math. Many concepts were difficult for me when I first tried to learn them. And then, but the more I practiced and the more I went over them, the easier they got. And finally then, when I was able to teach someone else and start with myself, then it became quite easy. I was not all that smart in math, but I learned how to learn it doing the kind of things I'm telling you now, and that's why I was able to get a PhD ultimately. As I said, I'm repeating myself now, but it's important. The videos are self-paced. You can pause them, you can rewatch them, and you need to do this repetitively. Now, the question that you might have now is, well, what is this program going to cost? Well, that's going to be on our website, and that's going to vary from time to time. I don't know what it is when you watch this video today, but it doesn't really matter. But well, it does matter to you, but here's the real question you got to ask. How much is it worth to you? That's before you even look at the price. Sit down and think about, and it's not just this program. It could be, there's tutoring companies that do tutoring. There's individuals that do tutoring. There's free resources. So you got to ask yourself, how much for any resource, not just this one, anything, how much time do you think it's going to save you? How much more efficiently you're going to be able to learn if you apply a resource, whether it's one you buy or one it's free? How much frustration is going to help you avoid? You know, it's really frustrating to study something for 2 or 3 hours and you still don't understand it. And people get discouraged when they do that. They don't like it. And once you don't like something, it's hard to learn. So I think you need to find a resource, whether you pay for it or whether it's free, where you can understand this efficiently and quickly. How much is this resource going to help you improve your grade for the same amount of effort you might put in? And of course, what's the value of a grade? I mean, for some IU students, they really need to get a high grade. It's extremely important and valuable. Others, not so important. So you got to ask these. These are just 5 questions. I'm sure you can think of more that are important, but really you got to ask yourself. And then, by the way, this applies to anything you do in life, any program you take. You might be taking calculus. Same thing applies to that. You got to learn the concepts, how to solve the problem, and what resource can you do. When I was a grad student at IU, I got my PhD at IU, by the way. When I was a grad student here, Maynard Thompson, by the way, was a professor when I was here. I knew Maynard. He was one of the first author of this book, of this course. I would often find people that could help me learn things in a much more efficient way. The name of the game is efficiency and valuing your time. That's the name of the game. Your time and then the results you get for your time is what's important. And so that's what you got to ask yourself. Now you can go to our website, Finite Math Help, and learn about the current offering and what it costs and all that. Now there's an application. Right today, as of doing this video, we're only accepting a very limited number of students because of the time it takes and the time that we have to apply to it. So there's 3 ways that you're going to have to qualify if you're going to use us. First of all, you do have to have an adequate math aptitude and ability to learn math. I got to believe that if you're an IU student, you have that ability. I can't imagine you got into IU if you didn't have at least some reasonable math ability. There are students that just don't have the ability, but I don't think you would be one of them. Highly unlikely. If you passed math in high school and did reasonably well on your math exams, and you can learn math. But here's a bigger deal. You got to be willing to work an adequate amount to achieve your grade goals. Now, of course, it's going to be easier if you just want to get a C than if you want to get a B. And a B is a lot easier than getting an A. So you got to decide what's your goal. And quite frankly, I think our program is really aimed at people that want to get a B or higher. If you just want to get through the course, you probably can find some free resources or other resources that will be better for you. And then you got to evaluate how much the program is going to be worth to you. What's it going to be worth to you to do this program? You've got to, of course, obviously you got to believe that this program is going to be the best choice for you. And so you have to apply. We're going to have to talk to you about yourself and see if we think it fits. You're going to actually have to convince us that this is the right program for you. We don't want to sell it to you if it's not the right program. So this has to be a really frank interchange of information between you and us. And there's going to be 7 questions that we're going to ask you when you apply. The application is sort of be an online application where we talk to you online. And let me show you what you have to do to apply. You go to our website and you go to apply, hit the apply tab, and here's what we're going to ask you. First of all, what grade do you want to earn? Quite frankly, if you don't want to get a B or higher, probably this isn't for you. How many hours a week do you think you're going to need to invest? Now, this will depend on you and your math ability, but what do you think? And then how do you value your time? How much is your time worth per hour? I'd like to know what you think about that. Because if you don't value your time very highly, then why should you just go use free resources? I'm sure you can get through with them, but it's your time that's what counts. And then I believe that our program is probably going to save you 1 or 2 hours a week compared to anything else you can find. I could be wrong, and we'll find out, but I believe that's what I believe. So it's kind of like, what's 1 or 2 hours per week of your time worth? It could be more, actually. In fact, in some cases, we've had cases where students just simply couldn't learn it any other way. So it's hard to even gauge that. Again, it's just kind of related. How easy is learning math for you based on your experience? How many of these finite math topics do you already know? A lot of this stuff is taught in high school. So look at the textbook table of contents. Who knows? Maybe you know a lot of this. I actually know one high school that teaches finite math. You get credit for it. You don't have to take the course. And then, of course, ultimately, how much money can you afford to invest in order to save time to achieve your goals? That's something you have to ask yourself. And then once you've answered that, then we can determine whether or not this would be a appropriate thing for you. And the pricing will vary from time to time. And we also have things we can do with students where you can perhaps provide us a service to offset the cost. Depends on you and your situation. Quite frankly, if you're a student that really wants to do well in finite math and you have a strong motivation to do it and you're willing to work at it, then we want to help you. And of course, it costs us money to do it. We have to charge you something for it. But maybe you can provide us a service as opposed to dollars if you don't have the money. But for many students at IU, the money would be the best way for you to pay for it. It'd be the easiest thing for you to do. So if you think you've got answers to these 7 questions, we're going to ask you, schedule an online interview. And you'll be interviewed by either me or one of my colleagues, and we'll be asking you these questions. And when it's all said and done, we'll have to mutually agree whether or not we believe this would be a fit for you. And by the way, we turn a lot of people down. If we don't believe that this is going to work for you, then we don't want you in the program. Think of this as the finite math success team. There's going to be a limited number of students that are going to be on this. We can only handle so many. I don't know what the number is yet, but it's not going to be very many. So if you think you would be interested in it, apply. We'll talk about it, and who knows, maybe we'll join. In any event, however you do it, I wish you the best in your finite math program. So this is Craig Hain, and I'm the creator of this program, and you can go to my website. You can download my VTOL, learn all about me, what I've been doing. I've been teaching math for many, many years at many schools, Rose-Hulman, Indiana State, IU, DePaul, etc., and high school. We have lots of other programs, by the way, for all sorts of different people that need math, STEM math. We have a thing called the supercomputer, which, by the way, you might find that of interest for even what you're doing. Although you don't have to have it, all sorts of things. And so you can learn about me at my website if you want to know who I am and what this is about. And then go ahead, and if you think this might apply, give us a call, and we'll talk and see if it works. And in any event, as I said earlier, I wish you the best in your finite math success and your career at IU.